guys, it's Sandra from the Peas of Happiness. Today I want to talk to you guys about the Liberation Pledge. If you've seen me out and about, you may have seen me wearing this fork around. It says Liberation here on the band. I sincerely doubt you can see that. That was totally pointless. And many of you may have been wondering what on earth that is. It's not just a trendy piece of jewelry. It is actually a symbol of the very, very real pledge that I, like thousands and thousands of other people, and Josh as well, have taken to help further the goal of animal liberation. I want to explain a little bit about the history and about what this pledge is, and then I want to explain a little bit about how it affects me in my personal life and address some people who are actually really close to me, like my friends and family, who may be hearing about this enormous part of my life for the first time. So the Liberation Pledge was actually based off of a practice that helped end foot binding in China. As you may or may not know, foot binding was the height of beauty and culture at one point in China, especially or specifically among the wealthier classes of people. Foot binding, of course, is extremely painful for the individuals going through it, and always causes permanent skeletal damage. So aesthetically, I guess it was awesome, but physically and emotionally, it's horrible. It's a horrible practice of mutilation. So wealthy families got together and said, okay, we need to stop this practice. This is barbaric. How do we stop this? Well, the solution, which I guess is apropos for the time period, that they were no longer going to bind the feet of their own daughters, nor were they going to marry their sons off to women that had bound feet. This successfully pretty much wiped out the practice in basically one generation. Simply by denying to bind their daughters' feet or marry their sons off to women who did have bound feet, by completely abstaining from the practice and removing themselves from it, they were able to end a really, really barbaric practice that had gone on for an extremely long time in their culture. So flash forward to what this has to do with this and the reason that I'm wearing a fork on my wrist. The Liberation Pledge is based off of the same principle of non-participation in violent acts. The Liberation Pledge means that I have publicly pledged not to consume the bodies of animals in any capacity, be that their flesh, excretions, things that come out of their bodies, anything that belong to animals, I don't use. I don't eat, I don't wear, and I don't purchase. The Liberation Pledge also means that I have publicly declared to not sit at a table where the bodies of animals are being consumed. Now, this is where non-vegans tend to think that this pledge is a little extreme. Most people, when you say that you can't sit with them at a table, will take offense to that. That is really the entire reason that I'm making this video, because it's really not about you, or rather the person eating the products of the bodies of animals, but about a strong moral opposition to exploiting animals in any capacity. My refusal to sit at a table where the bodies of animals are being served has absolutely nothing to do with the individuals eating the animals. Individually speaking, I have compassion for every single person that continues to eat animal products, because I was there. I was raised in a culture of violence, just like you. I ate animals for 25 years of my life. I wore leather, wool, silk. I ate eggs. I drank milk. And I never had any remorse or regret for those things while I was doing it. But as an adult and having the vast amount of information available to me about what actually happens within the industry, once I saw what was going on, I no longer felt that I could ethically participate. For me to exclude non-human animals within my circle of compassion feels extremely, extremely wrong and counterintuitive. We can all clearly see that animals suffer. We can all clearly see that animals value their lives. And knowing that I can live happy and healthy without having to consume the bodies of animals, that human beings have no biological need for meat, eggs, or dairy, to cause unnecessary harm is something that I simply can't live with. When I first went vegan, I started really pursuing meeting non-human animals that I probably had never met in person before, that I had never interacted with in any other way than on the end of my fork. I started meeting cows and chickens and pigs. I started trying to connect with these non-human animals on the level of just being two individuals, regardless of our species, regardless of the fact that we couldn't talk, and simply connecting. And you know what? I could never eat another animal ever again. I could never knowingly participate in taking anything away from a non-human animal. Science tells us that they're conscious. Science tells us that they are sentient beings. And I can no longer deny the inherent passion that I have, the natural compassion, and my natural tendency to want to alleviate suffering. I understand that there are individuals who have never even considered this. There are individuals who in some way know that what they're doing is eating animals, but are so disconnected from the process that they can't actually see anything besides a hamburger, where I can look at the same hamburger and see the individual cow from which it came. By refusing to sit down at a table with an individual who's eating an animal, or that my refusal to sit at a table with individuals who are consuming the bodies of other individuals is an act of compassion for the animals, not an act of violence towards the human beings. I realize that this impacts the way that we interact socially. Because as human beings, food is pretty much central to every one of our cultural traditions and the way that we socialize and interact with one another. So we have several options. If you are an individual in my life who does still consume the bodies of animals, here's what I'm going to ask of you. As someone who loves and cares about me and respects who I am, I'm going to ask that when we're together, that we only consume vegan food. Meaning food that is devoid of any secretions or body parts from non-human animals. Or, if you are not willing to eat a vegan meal, even if it's just when we're together, we can do activities that don't involve food or exploiting animals in any other way. This means that I'll also not be visiting a zoo with you, but I will totally take you to an animal sanctuary with me. Just like ending the barbaric tradition of foot binding, we hope, those of us who have taken the pledge, to end the barbaric act of enslaving and exploiting non-human animals simply for our own gains. Ultimately, human beings don't need meat, eggs, dairy, or any other animal products to live happy, healthy lives. There's synthetic leather made of pineapple and kombucha. There are man-made materials for any material that you can make from an animal. Veganism is a practice that excludes, to the absolute best of our ability, as far as is practicable, to not exploit animals for any reason. This means if you are someone in my life who takes a type of medication that has animal products in it and it's all you can take for your health, I understand that. That's practicable and understandable. You cannot control the drug companies. You cannot control what they put in the drugs. And if you sincerely need them for your life, I understand that. But if you're still consuming the bodies and secretions of non-human animals, if you're still buying products that are made from their bodies, if you're still attending zoos or circuses or places where they are being exploited, you're not living a fully compassionate life because you're doing things to non-human animals that cause them harm that is unnecessary for your survival. I can only give you information and show you the same compassion that I would hope you would show to me if I was maybe not doing something that was healthy or ethical. And you can try to sincerely understand that the information that I am presenting is yours to do with what you want with it. You can choose to completely ignore me, in other words. You can choose to not consider why I would be so adamant in making this video, in taking this pledge, in dedicating myself to activism for non-human animals. But if you respect or love me, or the individual who's sending you this video, because I would hope that more people will kind of share this around and use this as a way to maybe explain why they've taken this pledge. If you love and respect me, I would hope that you would try to see from my perspective and hopefully understand that this information is not something that I've made up. It's not, I mean, we're talking about science-based evidence and, of course, an ethical consideration that's based in logic. So please know that I love you very, very much. If you are someone in my life who still consumes the bodies of animals and you have questions about veganism, questions about this pledge, questions about what the hell I'm doing, questions about ethics, questions about studies, questions about resources, you want to know how to best hang out with me, you want to learn how to meet non-human animals, you want information on how to be healthier, you have concerns about how we're going to relate, or you need help in any capacity, please contact me. Veganism and the activism that Josh and I do is completely to cultivate compassion. It's not to exclude anyone. If you come to and ask a question, there's no judgment. We consumed animals. We caused the same harm. I know where you're at. You are an ethical, wonderful person, and I wouldn't be making this video if I didn't believe that the people in my life were ethical, wonderful people who would understand this. So please contact me, ask me about the Liberation Pledge, and please know that when we are together, I will demand respect for non-human animals because they're just as important as us. If you're a vegan who has questions about the Liberation Pledge and how to take it, please follow the links that will be provided at the end of this video and in the description, whatever platform you're watching this on, Facebook or YouTube, it'll be in the post or description. And if you need support with the Liberation Pledge, if you're finding it difficult to maintain or to explain to other people, I really encourage you to join the Liberation Pledge support group on Facebook, where you can converse with other people who are going through the same thing of trying to live ethically and compassionately in a world that is not built for compassion. So that's it. That's my incredibly long spiel. So until next time, much, much love. Keep living your awesome, positive, plant-based existences, and I'll see you later. Bye, everybody. And remember,